Pickle, let's go to the hotline. It's time to talk a little Texas Tech football with the host of the Texas Tech podcast of record, Gamblin Gauchos, on the Republic Football Podcast Network. We're joined by our friend Rob Breaux. Rob, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're great. How are things in Lubbock?
Oh, they are bright and shiny today.
Yeah, that's about par for the course. I would imagine they're brighter and shinier these days, coming off of a big win Saturday night in Waco. I want to go back to maybe the 24 hours before the Baylor game and then the 24 hours after the Baylor game. How did what happened Saturday night maybe change the feeling around this program in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, it gets you back to 500. You're feeling pretty good there. The 24 hours before, very uneasy about the season still, I think. Coming off a win against Houston, but let's face it, Houston isn't very good, and maybe Baylor isn't either. I don't know, but you feel pretty good about beating a team that just house-wrecked you last year in Lubbock. You come back and get to do the same to them on the road. Another road win. Joey's second of his career as a Red Raider with 6 losses. So that was kind of a monkey off the back feeling as well.
You know, one thing we talked about, because obviously this year the loss to Wyoming on the road ended up looking like a pretty decent loss. They lose to Oregon as well before they lose to West Virginia. One of the things that I'm interested in this particular with Texas Tech is Joey McGuire. Obviously, for about the first 18 months of the Joey McGuire era, it was nothing but good vibes around there. Is there a feeling that maybe, I know nobody's trying to run him out of town, but is the feeling maybe that, okay, we've exited the honeymoon period and now we're settling into what the Joey McGuire era is going to be out there in Lubbock?
Yeah, I think so. That's an interesting question because the recruiting has helped Joey a lot. You haven't recruited like this, ever in Lubbock consistently. So that has been a very good fallback. But I think so. And in some ways, this feels like year 3 for Joey because he got here so early in that first year, like in October. So he got to recruit, 3 months of the first season. And then, that bowl game really felt like a Joey McGuire bowl game against Mississippi State. So it's been a long time since Joey's been here, it feels like in some ways, but in other ways, it's just year 2. And it's just 6 games into year 2. So I would say in a lot of ways, yeah, the honeymoon period does feel like it's over because of a couple losses early in the year. But in the same way, you have Micah Hudson on the commitment list. You've got some other 4-stars, high 4-stars that you haven't been flirting with as a commitment list in a long time, ever. And so in some ways, yeah, it feels like the honeymoon phase is over and you better start winning some games. But in other ways, all of this talent, the freshmen that are playing defense, the commitment list, I don't want to say signees yet because they're not signees, but the guys on their way, hopefully. It still feels like you're pretty new and fresh with Joey McGuire.
Talking with Rob Breaux of Gamblin Gauchos on the Republic Football Podcast Network here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. The quarterback situation out there at Lubbock has certainly been interesting. Tyler Shuck starts the year, flashes at times, looks really good. You can see why he won the job, but he gets injured. The guy can't catch a break. He gets injured, out for the year, and now it's going to be the Baron Morton show. So far, so good. You are what your record says you are, and he's 2-0 in their starts in the games that he started. What have you noticed as far as the difference is concerned, or as far as the difference from the offense with Baron Morton at the helm, maybe versus what we saw with Tyler Shuck in charge?
They finally started handing the ball off to Taj Brooks more often than not. I mean, that's the difference. Baron Morton is a very good quarterback. I've wanted to see Baron Morton for a long time. He's been in Lubbock for several seasons, and I wanted him to get more playing time. Obviously not with an injury, but Taj Brooks has been the difference of the offense in the last 2 weeks. You've scored more than you have all year because you're handing it off to Taj Brooks, and he's getting 170 yards. And then Baron Morton is throwing to guys that are open because Taj Brooks opened up the offense. And I don't want to say anything ill of Baron Morton because he threw really two really good balls. One a back shoulder fade to Coy Aiken, which you probably don't get from Tyler Shuck, and then one that dropped in the bucket to Baylor Cup. They called him Raider Cup this week. So you do have those really good throws that you see from Barrett Morton, and he does flash as well, but he's turning around and handing the ball off, and that's why the offense is successful.
On the other side of the ball, on the defensive side, the numbers have been improving. This was a defense last year that ended up finishing, in the 108th in total defense. They're in the top 70 right now. Top half of FBS. What is the feeling? What is the feeling overall around this defense right now, which certainly has had its share of struggles here and there, but does look like there's maybe a nice step forward, either in progress or on the horizon?
I don't think defense in Lubbock gets enough credit.
Mm-hmm.
For decades, nobody cared about the defense. Then when you have some success, I don't think it gets talked about enough. I think Tim DeRuyter is a really, really good defensive coordinator. And again, I don't know that as many people know. You're playing 5 true freshmen at times on the defense, maybe not at the same time, but over a night. You're playing a redshirt freshman at middle linebacker since game 1 because of an injury. This is a defense that's going to be really, really good in 2 years. They are pretty good right now. And I think, beyond the first half against Donovan, Smith, and Houston, this defense has been really good since the West Virginia game. You give up 20 in regulation, you should be able to win that game on the road. You give up 20 to regulation to Wyoming, going all the way back to the beginning of the year, you should be able to win that game. You give up only 31 to Oregon on defense, which is a prolific offense. I think this defense has been really good all year, depending on the competition. And that stretch between the second half of Houston and that Baylor game, those 6 quarters have been really good.
Rob Breaux of Gamblin Gauchos here, talking with us here. One last question. This Saturday, Texas Tech welcomes in Kansas State, entering as a 1-point favorite, which is interesting considering the recent history of Kansas State. And I think this has gone a little underreported, but boy, Kansas State has really had Tech's number of late. They've won 7 straight over the Red Raiders. But this is a wounded Kansas State team coming off of a pretty ugly performance against Oklahoma State last week, and Tech obviously riding high on 2 straight wins. What are you going to be watching for on Saturday that would spell success for Tech, and what are they going to need to do to come out with a win?
Yeah, it's last 7, but 1-9 in the last decade.
Oof.
Yeah, and like 16 in the last 20. I mean, it's been ridiculous. You have to play clean on special teams. That's something that Kansas State always does really, really well. And you have to run the ball. Kansas State is a really good defensive team against the run this year. You have to be able to run the ball against them. And with Zach Kitley, it's against his nature, it feels, to run the ball. So that's going to be something I'm watching. Is he going to go away from it? Is he going to be able to stick with it? Is he going to be able to put his nose on the grindstone when it doesn't work in the first quarter and go back to it in the second and third? That's what I'll be watching, because that's how Texas Tech has to be successful. I don't think you can go out and throw it 50 times against Kansas State and beat them.
He's Rob Breaux. He's the host of Gamblin Gauchos, the Republic Football Podcast Network, the fine Texas Tech product out there. Make sure you go and listen to that. Rob, appreciate your time, my friend, and enjoy the game on Saturday.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
Absolutely. There he goes, Rob Breaux of the Gamblin Gauchos podcast. Good listen. Very good listen. They have a Patreon, too. Go give them your patronage. I didn't realize how ugly that series has been for Tech.
Not good.
That K-State has dominated them, really. So this would be a huge one. And the other thing, I don't want to play the schedule game here. So right now, Tech's at 3-3. Need 3 more wins to get to a bowl, right? Mm-hmm. Here's your schedule down the stretch. It's K-State, at BYU, TCU, at Kansas, UCF, at Texas. Okay? You got 6 games.
Yeah.
Kansas State is definitely in the winnable half of those games.
Hmm. Well, the other thing too, and I mean, this is just, you can literally prove this with numbers. Tech on the road has not been kind,
This
and like
is-
a game like BYU,
Yeah.
when I think they're a better team than BYU
BYU's,
is,
I don't think they're not anything special. Yeah.
but it makes me nervous them playing that one on the road.
The simplest path to a bowl is win your home games, which
Yep.
is Kansas State, TCU, and UCF,
Yeah.
which all feel relatively winnable.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you have to win against Kansas State, and you have to win against UCF.
Yeah, if they don't win, absolutely. If they don't win Saturday, then like you're gonna have to steal one.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to maybe go to Kansas and get a win.
Mhm.
The easiest
Which
path
is
here,
not easy.
No, that's a nationally ranked Kansas team.
Yeah.
And Jalen Daniels, we don't know what his situation is, but probably be back for that one.
Mhm.
If you are Tech, I think Saturday is a must-win if you're gonna get to a bowl.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I agree.
We appreciate Rob Breaux. Go listen to Gamblin Gauchos. It's a good listen. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.